Hello, Rob from Fountain Pen Journey with a pen review. Now, this is the Baoer 508 Chinese fountain pen. It's been around for quite a few years and it's completely, I don't know, been totally off my radar. I bought this pen and amongst a bunch of other pens from a seller on eBay quite a few, I don't know, a couple of months ago now. And this was in there and I thought, well, okay, there were some other pens which I was more interested in than this particular pen, but it's actually turned out to be quite a nice pen. Sorry about the traffic noise. We're on lockdown and the road that we live on in the quiet rural village where we are is like a motorway, so good to see that's all going well. Anyhow, Baoer 508 all metal pen, and it is a slightly unusual design. It is metal, as I said. It is available in a range of finishes. There's certainly a nice red finish available of the Baoer 508. This is the blue, and I think some sellers on Amazon are calling it magic blue or something like that, but it's a metallic blue with sort of black mottling in, which under the harsh lights, to be honest, let's just turn those off for a moment. It's not as good a colour under here. Yeah, you can see it's got differentiations in the colour. So light to dark, black basically. Let's stick the lamp back on. There we go. So yeah, nice metallic luster. It is quite a nice teal blue. It's coming out as a navy blue here, but it is more towards a teal blue colour. So let's look over the parts of the pen. Oh, there's always one of my dogs going crazy. Yeah, they do that. Windows are open, so anyway, we have got a metal insert as a finial, which is, I don't know whether this is a well-used pen or what. It is second hand, but it is a little bit scratched up and scuffed. No big deal. And the finial is, as you can see, it flares out at the top, which is an unusual design feature. Slightly rounded cigar-shaped barrel and this silver clip, which I quite like the clip design. It's quite big and quite chunky, very, very stiff. Yeah, really quite stiff, but very functional. Silver cap band with absolutely nothing on it. Barrel fairly straight, tapers down towards the end, and at the end of the barrel you can see that it goes down and then flares out again. We've got silver cap band and then this flaring out with a black plastic finial. So that is what the pen looks like. Now, it's an all metal pen and it's one that I wasn't aware of, and for those of you who watch my pen reviews and all the rest of it, you know that I don't get into statistics, things like that. I usually show a comparison with another pen, but because this is not something which I was aware of, you may want to know what weight this pen is. So let's just turn on the scales. Okay, so capped 31.3 grams and uncapped, and it's a simple pop off, 17.1. So even though it's metal, it's not a hugely heavy pen. Now I am going to compare this with the Jinhao X450 blue and white porcelain, 29 grams. So yeah, it's not such a massive heavy pen anyway. So does it post? Well, yeah, even with this flared barrel it does post, and it's not deep, but it's pretty secure. And this thing is leaking ink absolutely everywhere. Now I'm going to keep the camera rolling because this isn't something which I have had as a problem with this pen before, which in itself, let's wipe the scales because they've ended up with ink on them too. Right, just bear with me one moment. Let me just clean that up. So, that has never happened with this pen so far, and I'm a little bit concerned as to why. So let's unscrew this. I'm suspecting that the converter is, don't know, absolutely no idea what's going on there. Has that emptied itself into the cap? I'm suspecting it probably has. Whoa, yeah, that's exactly what happened. So, we have got a slight leaker with the Baoer 508. And this was a full ink fill with the cartridge. So I'm going to bring you quickly on to my next problem that I have with this pen, and that is the fact that it does hard start. It's not terrible, but it isn't great, and it is consistently, you know, the same as a lot of Chinese pens that you do have, like the Jinhao X450. Don't use them for a few days, they will hard start. Some fountain pens are absolutely fine. This falls under the category of hard starters. I'm going to call it Magic Blue, with a medium steel nib. Now, hopefully there's enough ink left in this. Now we've got a two-tone. If I can get this to focus. Come on. It's never going to focus. It's trying. I can't even read it myself. It's very badly engraved in the nib, but it is quite an, there we go. Bit. So, nice looking nib. Do the writing sample before the ink decides to run out. And I find this nib is absolutely fine. It writes well, keeps up. It's not the most interesting nib. And there is a tiny amount of line variation. No pressure, lots of pressure. So, you know, I personally don't think that that is bad at all. You do get some line variation. The feed underneath is interesting because it is just straight black plastic. One thing that I have noticed is this ink, and I'll talk about the ink in a minute, keeps up absolutely well. No problem with the nib and feed from this respect, but this ink is not a very saturated ink. This is Noodler's Blue Nosed Bear. Which is a really nice muted teal colour. It's coming out quite green under the camera. But as for this pen, well, as you can see, it has literally emptied itself into the cap. Now, I've had that stored upside down, well, cap down rather, for a couple of days, because I found that stored nib up, it just hard started, and I'd have to prime the feed and it just wouldn't write. So, catch 22, which do you do? Do you cope with really hard starts, or do you have it so that the ink just empties itself into the cap? Choice is yours. Personally, this is an issue that I've had with other Baoer fountain pens. I believe I've got two of the same, and it's the I can't even remember the model number, and I've tried both of them, and I've tried different things, and they're horrific pens to write with. They just they're just not very good. This is a much better pen, and I do like it, and they are very affordable. I've literally just had a look before I recorded this video, and £3.58 including postage, available on eBay, also on Amazon. So really nice looking metal pen. Cheap. Do I recommend it? It's not one that I would personally purchase myself, so it's more of a thumbs down, to be honest. I'm not saying that it's a terrible pen, because it does write well, but there are one or two issues, and I'm not 100% sold on the design. It is slightly different, it's a bit more unusual than you usually get with the Chinese pens. It isn't your generic fountain pen design, but at the end of the day, you know, there are some issues with the way that it caps. Well, not caps. You look, there's the evidence. Not the red. That was a different pen earlier. So you can see what the problem is. So Baoer 508. Still not something that I'm going to recommend you go out and buy, but if you really like the design for some reason, if that ticks your boxes and you're willing to put up with a little bit of ink spillage or hard starts, then yeah, certainly give it a go. So there you go. Thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you next time. Bye.